I stood in Conference Room 4C of the Phoenix headquarters, staring at the single sheet of paper that had just ended 15 years of my life. "We're restructuring," Martin Hale said. His voice clipped, his eyes fixed on the polished oak table instead of mine. His fingers tapped an uneven rhythm that betrayed nerves. "Your position has been eliminated, effective immediately. 15 years. 15 years of missed vacations, hospital visits, cut short, and late-night strategy calls at 2:00 a.m., all reduced to a 15-minute termination meeting and a severance check that felt like an insult." The board finalized this last night. Martin continued adopting that careful neutrality executives practice. "It's nothing personal, Elaine. Nothing personal. Nothing personal." As if I hadn't just secured the Hartford contract worth $600,000 last week. As if I hadn't raised client retention by 38% in the past year alone. Rachel from HR slid another document across the table. "We'll need you to sign this non-disclosure agreement and return all company property before leaving the building." I signed mechanically, keeping my face calm though my mind raced. No transition, no handover, not even a chance to say goodbye to the clients I had nurtured for more than a decade. "Your belongings will be sent to your home address," Rachel added almost kindly. I nodded. They wouldn't see me break. Not here. Not now. As I stood, Martin finally met my eyes. "One more thing, Elaine. Any company information you have must be returned immediately. Client lists, contracts, everything." A chill rippled down my spine. Did he know? Could he suspect that I had already copied the entire client database onto my personal drive after overhearing him and the CFO whispering about deep cuts last week? "Of course," I replied smoothly. "I understand." The security guard Luis, who'd greeted me with a smile every morning for 15 years, now avoided my eyes as he escorted me out. 20 minutes later, I stood on the sidewalk with a cardboard box, watching the revolving glass doors spin without me. My phone buzzed. A text from Martin: "Return everything, Elaine. All company property. Legal will follow up tomorrow." The desperation in his message was telling. They were nervous, but they didn't know what I held. That database wasn't just contacts. It represented nearly $500,000 in future consulting opportunities. Martin thought he had cut me out. In reality, he had just freed me. As the taxi carried me away, the fire in my chest hardened into resolve. They had underestimated me for the last time. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe to hear how justice eventually found its way back to me. Drop a comment if you've ever had to rebuild from ashes. I'd love to know I'm not alone in this journey. My name is Elaine Porter, 46 years old, and I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, watching my grandfather run a small hardware store. He could turn broken scraps into tools that worked again, and he taught me that preparation prevents desperation. "Never let them see you scramble," he'd say, while fixing hinges with steady hands. I carried that lesson into adulthood. Through college, I worked 2 jobs to cover what scholarships didn't. While classmates partied, I built spreadsheets, tracked market shifts, and prepared for opportunities most people never saw coming. Professors said I was pathologically prepared. They weren't wrong. Landing the job at Hale Dynamics in Phoenix had felt like destiny. My first interview with Martin Hale lasted 3 hours. He told me, "You understand this isn't about transactions. It's about trust." And for 15 years, I proved him right. I reshaped the company's client acquisition strategy, landing accounts competitors had chased for decades. My methods ended up in training manuals. The future until a Tuesday morning in April when I was shown the door. Back in my apartment, I kicked off my heels and opened my laptop. Inside an encrypted folder sat everything: client contracts, decision-maker profiles, renewal calendars, knowledge worth far more than my severance check. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. "Elaine, it's David Hartford." My chest tightened. David was the operations director of our most prestigious client. His voice carried genuine concern. "Is it true? You're gone?" I swallowed. Yes, as of this morning. That's surprising, he said. You're the only reason we stayed with them. They've already assigned someone new, a woman named Penny. She called an hour ago. Penny. The junior hire who had been shadowing me for weeks, supposedly to learn. Now I understood she had been training to replace me. David hesitated. We have concerns. Our renewal is next quarter. Let's catch up soon. Code for keeping options open. That night, I organized the client data carefully. Not to solicit, but to understand which relationships would survive without me. Meanwhile, Martin's texts kept buzzing in return all company information. Legal will follow up. I ignored him. Instead, I drafted an email to an old colleague who left last year to start a boutique consulting firm. Coffee tomorrow, I have an idea. His reply came within minutes. Heard what happened? Those fools. Coffee at 10:00, Cafe Verde on Jefferson. I finally crawled into bed, exhaustion pressing down when my phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. Elaine, it's Drew from finance. You should know your layoff wasn't restructuring. Martin told the board you were pocketing excessive commissions. I thought you deserved the truth. Sleep came in fragments that night. By dawn, the shock had burned away, replaced by a cold, steady fury. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about justice. The next morning, Cafe Verde buzzed with commuters. Marcus had already claimed a corner table, 2 mugs waiting. Ever observant, his eyes narrowed slightly as I approached. You look remarkably composed for someone whose career just imploded, he said. Years of practice, I replied, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. Perfect temperature, he remembered. So he leaned forward. What's the idea? And please tell me it involves making Martin regret the day he fired you. For the first time in days, I smiled. It might, eventually. But first, partnership. I outlined my vision, a boutique consulting firm offering the same services I'd perfected at Hale Dynamics, but with the personal attention big firms couldn't provide. His operational backbone plus my client relationships could build something formidable. Marcus stirred his coffee thoughtfully. But Elaine, those relationships are technically with the company. You could face legal trouble. Non-compete clauses prevent me from soliciting directly, I countered. But if clients come to us because they're unhappy with poor service, that's different. He raised a brow. And why would they be unhappy? I sipped my coffee. Because their trusted advisor was replaced by someone inexperienced, and because we'll offer something better. If you want to see how this journey unfolds, subscribe now and join me for the next chapter, because the best part of this story is only just beginning. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. A message from Martin. Legal is concerned about missing files. We need to talk ASAP. Marcus glanced at the screen. They know you took something. They suspect I corrected smoothly, but they can't prove it. And technically, I didn't take anything I didn't already work with daily. Marcus still looked uneasy. If they push legal action, they won't risk the publicity I cut in. By the time they realize what's happening, it'll be too late. Yet as I left the cafe, a flicker of doubt surfaced. Martin wasn't incompetent. If he suspected I had the database, he'd be moving fast. I needed to move faster. Back home, I began calling former colleagues who'd also left under bitter terms, people with skills and motivation to join me. By nightfall, a team was forming. That night, a small but talented team gathered in my Phoenix apartment. Marcus would handle operations, Zara design, Tao technical implementation, and I would serve as lead strategist. Each brought unique skills and, more importantly, relationships that complemented my own. We spread notes and laptops across my dining table. The air buzzed with the excitement of creation, tempered by the vindicating thrill of retribution. We'll need a name, Zara said, already opening her design software. Something that reflects transformation, Tao added. That's what we're really offering, turning frustration into possibility. Before I could respond, my phone rang. The screen flashed Martin Hale. The room went silent. "Are you going to answer?" Marcus asked quietly. I steadied myself and picked up. "Hello, Martin." His voice was tight. "We need to discuss the client information you accessed before leaving. Our system flagged unauthorized downloads from your login last week." My pulse jumped, but I forced my voice calm. "I accessed what was necessary for my role just as I had every day for 15 years. Nothing unauthorized. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The board is considering legal action unless you return all company property immediately." The threat lingered. My team's faces were tense, waiting. "That's interesting," I said slowly. "Especially since Drew told me why you really pushed for my termination, the lies you fed the board about my commissions." There was a long pause before Martin spoke again. "Drew shouldn't be discussing board matters with former employees. And you shouldn't be making false accusations to cover your mismanagement." I cut him off. "If you'll excuse me, I have plans this evening." And I ended the call before he could reply. My hand trembled slightly as I set the phone down. "He sounds worried," Zara observed with a half smile. "He should be," I answered. Now, about that company name. By midnight, we had laid the foundation. Keystone Solutions, a consulting firm built on our collective experience. Roles were clear, responsibilities defined, and a timeline set for launch. The only question was whether clients would follow. As my team left, I checked my email one last time. A subject line froze me. Consulting opportunity from David Hartford. He wrote, "Elaine, I've heard rumors you may be starting something new. Our contract with your former employer has a 30-day cancellation clause. The service since your departure has been disappointing. Let's talk alternatives." I smiled. It was beginning. Then another email arrived, darker in tone. "Final warning. Return all company information or face legal action. We know what you took." Attached was a formal letter from Hale Dynamics' legal department demanding compliance within 24 hours. The game was escalating. Sleep eluded me as I weighed my next move. By morning, my decision was clear. This was no longer about rebuilding a career or even about justice. This was war. I woke before dawn, strategy already filling my head. The legal threat in my inbox required attention, but not in the way Martin Hale expected. He was counting on fear. I would answer with calculation. I called Tao first. "Can you analyze their security logs? What can they actually prove I downloaded?" "I still have backdoor access," he replied, voice low despite the early hour. "Give me an hour." Next, I rang an old classmate, now a respected employment attorney. Nix listened carefully as I explained, including Martin's lies to the board. After scanning the notice, she concluded, "They're bluffing. If they had real proof, they'd cite specifics. This is a fishing expedition. You have 24 hours, use them wisely." By mid-morning, our team assembled at Marcus's small office. Tao arrived, last dark circles under his eyes, but triumphant. "Good news and better news," he announced, plugging in his laptop. "The logs show you accessed the client database last Tuesday, but there's no record of a download. You copied entries manually while logged in, completely normal for your role." Relief washed through me. "That's putting it lightly." Tao grinned. "He's called Martin twice, demanding to speak with you." A slow smile spread across my face. "Perfect. We refined our launch strategy for hours. Rather than chasing clients directly, which risked breaching my non-compete, we would announce our firm through industry channels. Clients dissatisfied with Hale Dynamics would find us, and I would answer only those who came first." Just after noon, my phone rang. David's number. "I've been trying to reach you," he said briskly. "This new person they assigned is completely unprepared." "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied evenly. "This isn't a transition issue. She doesn't understand our 5-year expansion plan, the one you built. We have deliverables due next week. Martin keeps insisting it'll smooth out, but it won't." I paused, careful with my words. I'm not in a position to comment on my former employer. But I am establishing a new consulting practice focused on relationship-based strategy. The line went quiet. Then David asked the only question I needed to hear. How soon can you be ready? How soon could you be operational? David asked. We're launching officially in 2 weeks, I said, but for the right client partnerships we can expedite. Send me information as soon as you have it, he replied. And Elaine, others have been asking about you. When I ended the call, I shared the update with my team. Excitement rippled through the room until Marcus raised the critical question, what about Martin's legal threat? The deadline is tonight. I nodded. I'm drafting a response. Something that buys us time and makes them second-guess their own approach. By late afternoon, with Nix's guidance, I finished the reply. I acknowledge receipt of your correspondence. To clarify, I have not retained any proprietary information outside the scope of my normal job functions. Any suggestion otherwise is factually incorrect and potentially defamatory. I remain open to dialogue regarding transition matters. Concerning my termination, I have received troubling information about misrepresentations made to the board. I trust this can be resolved professionally without escalation. Marcus read it carefully. Brilliant. Non-threatening, but it implies you hold something dangerous for him. I sent it. The reply came faster than expected, not from legal, but from Martin himself. We should talk in person. Coffee tomorrow. Just you and me. The team advised caution. Zara warned. It could be a trap. They might record you try to get an admission. Or he could be trying to save himself, I countered. Either way, I need to know what he's planning. We agreed on precautions. I'd choose the cafe, arrive early, and Marcus would sit nearby as a silent witness. That night, as I prepared, my phone rang again. Drew, from finance. His voice was low. There's more. After you left, Martin told the executive team you'd been planning to poach clients. He needs a scapegoat. 3 major clients have complained about new account managers. The Hartford Group is already reconsidering their contract. The board believes him for now. But the CFO is asking why our top relationship manager was cut without a transition. My grip on the phone tightened. Watch yourself tomorrow, Drew finished. He's desperate. Sleep never came. I paced my apartment, rehearsing responses for every scenario. By morning, I was prepared for anything except the sight of Martin waiting at the cafe, looking not powerful, but broken. His suit was rumpled, dark shadows under his eyes. When he saw me, relief flickered across his face. Thank you for coming, he said. Marcus, 3 tables away, watched silently. I sat across from Martin, keeping my voice even. I was curious what couldn't be said in an email. He glanced nervously around before leaning forward. Martin leaned forward, his voice tight. I need your help, Elaine. Of all the things I expected, that wasn't one of them. My help, I asked evenly. The Hartford Group is threatening to cancel. David won't take my calls. Penny is drowning, and the board is asking why we ever let you go. His voice cracked. It's becoming an existential issue. 2 other major clients are wavering. The board has scheduled an emergency meeting tomorrow. I kept my face blank. That sounds like an internal management problem. He nodded miserably. I want to offer you your job back. Higher salary. Director title. More autonomy. For a moment, I was speechless. The audacity was breathtaking to fire me unceremoniously, then expect me to rescue him. That's an interesting proposition, I finally said. I know it's unexpected, he pleaded, desperation seeping into every word. But you're the only one who can salvage these relationships. The same relationships you accused me of planning to steal, I countered. His eyes widened. How did you? It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that you fired me without cause, lied to the board, and now you're facing the consequences. Martin dropped his gaze, raking a hand through his disheveled hair. I made a mistake, a terrible one. But this isn't just about me. 50 jobs are on the line. The manipulation was almost insulting. Yet underneath my anger, I saw a flicker of something useful: his desperation. "Why did you really fire me?" I pressed. He hesitated, then whispered, "The board demanded cost reductions. Your compensation was substantial after the Hartford commission. I sacrificed you and lied to justify it." I let the silence stretch before answering. "I'm not coming back, Martin. I've already established my own consulting practice. We launch in 2 weeks." His face drained. "You can't. The non-compete prevents me from soliciting clients directly," I finished. "It doesn't stop them from seeking me out after substandard service." I rose, gathering my bag. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a business to build." "Elaine?" "Wait," he called, panic rising. "If clients leave, we'll pursue legal action. You know too much. We'll claim trade secret violations." I looked down at him calmly. "That would be unfortunate, especially if certain board members learned the truth about my termination." His expression hardened. "Is that a threat?" "Just an observation," I said evenly. "Good luck tomorrow." Outside, the spring air felt electric. Marcus joined me, eyes wide. That was intense. "What now?" "Now," I said, "we accelerate. Launch in 1 week. And I need to meet with David immediately." David Hartford met me at a quiet restaurant near his office, guiding me toward a corner table. His handshake was firm, his expression a mixture of relief and caution. "Thank you for making time," he said, "especially given the circumstances." "The circumstances being that Hale Dynamics is struggling to deliver the service you expect," I replied mildly. He smiled. "Precisely. Though Martin called this morning promising a more experienced replacement by next week." "Did he say who?" "No," David said. "But he sounded unusually anxious. Actually used the word, 'please.'" He studied me thoughtfully. "I get the feeling there's more happening behind the scenes." "There usually is," I admitted, sliding a sleek folder across the table. "This is an outline of the services my new firm could provide starting as early as next Monday." David opened the folder, eyebrows rising as he scanned. "This is comprehensive, and these rates competitive." He looked up. "No bloated management, no wasted overhead." "Exactly. Lean and efficient." His eyes lingered on the team list. "And Tao Chen, he built our analytics dashboard last year, along with Zara and Marcus, all people I've worked with before. That's a formidable combination." He closed the folder, decision already clear. "I'll need to review this with my team, but I think the Hartford group would prefer continuity." I kept my expression measured, but inside triumph roared. "We'd be honored to continue supporting your vision." He leaned in slightly. "I should mention other clients have been calling me. Your name keeps coming up." By the time I left the restaurant, Hartford wasn't just ready to become our first client. David had offered introductions to 3 others in his network. The pieces were falling into place faster than I'd dared hope. That evening, I called an emergency team meeting. Excitement filled the room as we adjusted timelines. 1 week to launch is ambitious, Zara warned. "We'll make it work," Marcus said firmly. "I can have the client portal live by Monday," Tao added, already typing furiously. As we divided tasks, my phone buzzed with a text from Drew. "Board meeting moved up to tomorrow morning. Martin's fighting for his job. Thought you should know." I showed the message to the team. "Good," Marcus said. "Let him sweat." But part of me hesitated. Cornered predators are dangerous. The next morning, Nix's call confirmed it. Her voice was sharp. "They've filed for an emergency injunction claiming you stole trade secrets and sabotaged client relationships. They want to block your launch." My stomach dropped. "On what grounds?" "They're waiving an affidavit from Penny. She swears she saw you copying client data before you were fired." "That's impossible," I whispered. "They're also claiming unusual access patterns tied to your login," Nix warned over the phone. But Tao already confirmed no record of downloads. How could they? Then it struck me. They're fabricating evidence. Possibly, she agreed. "But the judge has already granted a temporary hearing for tomorrow morning." This is moving fast, Elaine. After hanging up, I gathered my team. Their faces shifted from shock to determination as I explained. They're bluffing, Tao insisted. I've checked the logs myself. Bluff or not, we prepare, I replied. Nix is building our defense, but we need a contingency plan if the injunction goes through. Marcus leaned forward. What about Drew? Could he testify to what really happened? I hesitated. I won't risk his job unless it's the last option. As we debated, my phone rang again, another unknown number. This is Elaine Porter, I answered cautiously. Ms. Porter, my name is Indra Walsh. I'm a board member at Hale Dynamics. We need to talk. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me. About what exactly, I asked. About Martin Hale's management decisions, the circumstances of your termination, and why 3 of our major clients are threatening to cancel. Can we meet privately today? My team's expressions mixed between suspicion and intrigue. An opportunity or a trap? I can meet at 3, I said finally. Winter Garden Atrium Barstow Building. Public, open, noisy, hard to record, yet private enough for real conversation. Indra arrived precisely on time, immaculately dressed, exuding authority. I remembered her from company events, quiet, observant, speaking only when it mattered. Thank you for meeting me, she said, taking the seat across from me. I'll be direct. The board has received conflicting accounts of your termination. What accounts? I asked evenly. First, Martin claimed your position was cut in restructuring. When clients complained, he said you were planning to leave and poach them. Yesterday, under pressure, he told us you'd become difficult and demanded unreasonable compensation. And this morning, he presented so-called evidence you stole proprietary data. A short laugh escaped me. 3 stories in 1 week. Impressive consistency. Indra's gaze sharpened. Our CFO questions the authenticity of that evidence. We suspect fabrication. Because it is fabricated, I said flatly. She nodded. But the client exodus is real. Hartford has already filed notice of termination. I leaned back, keeping my tone measured. Then you know the real issue. Her lips curved in the faintest smile. Yes. Which is why the board has called an emergency session tonight. Martin Hale's future will be decided. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Indra Walsh, calm as ever, leaned forward. Because the board is exploring every option to salvage client relationships, including a potential collaboration with your new venture. Of all scenarios, I'd imagined that was not one. A strategic partnership. My firm would manage high-value client accounts while Hale Dynamics provided back-end support. It was both brilliant and desperate. They were willing to share revenue rather than lose everything. That's an interesting proposition, I said carefully, but it would require dropping the legal action against me and my team. That's already under discussion, she assured me. The injunction was Martin Hale's initiative, not the board's. As we spoke, the outlines of a deal emerged, one that could accelerate my firm's growth while buying my former employer time to rebuild. Before leaving, Indra invited me to present directly to the board the following week. After certain personnel changes, she added meaningfully, when I returned to my team, reactions were mixed. Zara warned it could be a trap, a way to stall us while they scrambled to recover. Marcus believed it was genuine pragmatism. They're bleeding clients, he argued. Our debate ended with Drew's late-night text. Martin terminated effective immediately. Board voted unanimously. Meeting tomorrow to discuss partnership. I showed them the message. Relief, vindication, and an odd emptiness washed over me all at once. So what now? Tao asked. I considered. Partnering offered legitimacy and reduced legal risk, but it also meant compromising independence. We proceed with our launch as planned, I decided. But we'll keep the dialogue open. Let's see what they're really offering. The next morning, Nix called with unexpected news. The complaint's been withdrawn. No hearing. The board must have stepped in. Relief spread through me. Hours later, their corporate counsel sent a formal request for partnership talks. They were moving quickly. Within days, Martin's belongings were packed and removed from the office, an exit as unceremonious as mine. Meanwhile, Keystone Solutions launched with Hartford as our anchor client. Within a week, 3 more joined. The partnership discussion with Hale Dynamics narrowed to a limited arrangement collaboration on select projects, where our expertise could complement theirs but we would remain independent. A month after my termination, I found myself back in a Hale boardroom, not as an employee but as CEO of a thriving consultancy. Across the table sat Indra and the executive team, respectful in a way that contrasted sharply with that humiliating morning in Conference Room B. Before we conclude, Indra said the board wishes to formally apologize. Your termination was based on inaccurate information and poor judgment. I inclined my head. Apology accepted. I prefer to focus on the opportunities ahead. We signed the preliminary agreement, and I left with no need to mention the encrypted client database still secure on my drive, the one I never actually used. The true leverage had always been the trust I built, the relationships I nurtured, and the reputation for excellence that couldn't be erased. As Indra walked me to the elevator, she said quietly, "When Martin first proposed firing you, I was the only one who objected. I warned it would haunt us." "Prophetic?" I said, with a small smile. "Not prophecy," she replied as the doors slid closed. "Experience. How you treat people always returns better or worse. This time, it returned in my favor. I've shared my journey not just for myself, but for everyone who has ever been underestimated, discarded, or told they were replaceable. If my story resonates with you, please show your support, like this video, and subscribe so I can keep sharing these hard-won lessons. Leave a comment below. What advice would you give me as I continue building this new chapter? What lessons have you learned when life forced you to rebuild from the ground up? Remember, success isn't only about climbing higher, it's about standing tall after being knocked down. Let's learn from each other.